Okay, and without further ado, it's 12:05, so I'm going to begin. And hi, everybody. Welcome and hello to wherever you are in the world. I'm so honored to be able to join Fab City Summit Montreal in this amazing event to explore innovation and sustainability all throughout technology. So today I'm going to talk on the innovative topic of visualizing neural connections within the mind and body. And with introduction, my name is Scarlett Menendez, and I'm the founder of Neural Oceans. And that's a platform dedicated to making open source technology, whether that's biosensing equipment or EEG technology, which is what I'm personally passionate about. We're dedicated to making those technologies accessible to our most impacted community. So I want that to be accessible to the public, accessible to our youth in public programs. So just know that this entire presentation is a call to action to all enthusiasts and technologists that are looking to put innovation into the hands of our youth today. So here we have just a basic diagram of the cortex and visualizing the neurological relationships behind what we think and what we do are steadily growing. And they're growing in innovation, they're growing in accessibility. Similarly, the human relationship to a machine has evolved from being a simple command and function to a smart tool that it's now evolved beyond human limitation. We're no longer stuck in an analog world. We're in a learning world with machines right now. Today, machines are learning and they're gradually integrating the algorithms into our preferences. They help achieve a desired environment, like even on our smartphones, when we use Snapchat, when we are given ads. These algorithms are all learning and catering to us and the human condition. So, you know, if you look at smartphones, they can assist us, like applications for smartphones, for example. They can assist us with like natural processes like sleep routines through like applications. They learn your sleep patterns and they suggest healthy alternatives, right? I'm sure we've all been on the App Store or the Play Store and we've seen applications that are like, try us out, show us how you sleep and what your patterns are, and we're going to suggest the best way. That's the most consumer accessible way I can think of that technology has integrated into our daily lives, among like many of the applications like social media and whatnot that engage us quite constantly and addictively. But nonetheless, let's talk about biosensing equipment, right? Biosensing equipment can give us the closest possible insight on what is actually happening in our bodies in real time. So as life experiences cause emotional reactions, those reactions present themselves physiologically. So for example, if you're upset, physiologically, a response would be your blood pressure is getting high or your face is turning red. You know, you become short of breath. These are all physiological indicators that can be measured, and they define changes in the mind due to emotion. Oh, okay. So before, oh, I'm sorry, I meant to mention that Headspace and MedPace on the top here, those are two biosensing companies that one, Headspace is an app, and you can take a look at it on your Play Store, and it's meant to integrate itself with your lifestyle and suggest healthy alternatives to sleep and activity. And then MedPace is a little bit more robust, and it's an actual biosensing piece of hardware. So feel free to take a look at both of those companies because they are also spearheading innovation in these topics. Right. So before 2010, the public had to rely solely on clinicians and hospitals to obtain an EEG reading, which it gave valuable insights to neurological conditions that the patient would have only wondered about. Like they would not have known. They would have to go to a hospital and to a professional to know what is happening in their minds via an EEG brain reading. However, today, the public has access to visualizing real-time changes in the brain. It's via open source EEG technology. So EEG, it was commercialized by Brent Fauch when he founded Mind Technologies Incorporated. This is like, there's just proof of this in 2010 and beyond. Oh, sorry, I'm getting a notification on my computer. But this technology dates back 100 years at least, but commercially it dates back to about like 10 years. And basically Mind Technologies Incorporated was the first in history to develop a software for thought-controlled technologies. So this essentially allowed the human brain to interact with the computer directly and control devices like wheelchairs and speech keyboards, gaming controls. Like you could play Call of Duty on this hardware. You can also maneuver a wheelchair on this hardware. So the impact is just so great. And it directly benefits the handicapped community. But the potential doesn't stop there for this technology. I'm asking everyone on this meeting and in general, when this meeting is posted on my site and beyond, what happens when you can finally 3D print these headsets and assemble them from scratch? What happens when you can print the circuitry behind this technology and solder the components with a community, with a group, or even at home? Then the participation in this innovative field, it seems less intimidating, doesn't it? You're able to feel confident that you can take that first step and not feel held back by all of the knowledge portions of this, this technology. So with a strong community of researchers, I believe that knowledge is made available to all. But then with when the hardware is accessible to our most impacted communities, a potential brilliance that was living untapped will now have a chance to grow. What I mean by impacted communities is communities that are financially impacted, schools that just do not have access to this robust technology, even though it's open source. We as adults can just go out and buy it, but schools and kids that quite honestly see this in science fiction and dream, now it can become a reality for them. And they can drive innovation along with us, and we can be leaders in that. Yes, NeuroSky. Feel free to take a look at NeuroSky. I'm not sure if anybody recognizes the MindFlex Jedi trainer. This was a Star Wars based toy that was in Toys R Us a while back. And basically you wore it and you had a ball, and you can just imagine a fan powering the ball, like levitating the ball. So the fan would spin up and levitate the ball. And the goal would be to like move the ball throughout the whole obstacle course. But this was a toy and it was like 20 bucks. Guess what was in that toy? An EEG chip by NeuroSky. And I will talk a little bit more about that and what I did with that technology a little later on. So what is EEG? This is, the long name is electroencephalogram. And what it is it's a non-invasive test that reads your electrical activity in the brain. So brain waves, they're naturally occurring oscillations that happen when there's brain activity. So think of a brain wave as an indication of certain brain cell communication. And the communication of those cells produce electricity, which are received. Give me a moment. I feel like I'm presenting what I'm saying and not the actual presentation. And if that's the case, one moment, I'm gonna see if I can access the chat real fast.
What do you want to know?
Can you confirm with me that on the screen you only see a big slide saying what is EEG?
No, we can see also delta, theta, alpha, and beta gamma wave. But yeah, what is EEG is the title.
Perfect. Okay, I just want to make sure like my notes are not being seen.
Okay.
Okay, thank you guys. Okay, so just back to brainwaves. So they're naturally occurring oscillations that happen when there's brain activity. And then when you think of a brainwave, think of it as an indication of a certain brain cell communication. So the communication of those cells produce electricity, which are then received by the electrodes that sit on the scalp. So you think of an EEG headset and those electrodes are sitting on your scalp, they're reading the brain waves that are naturally being produced right now. Even me sitting here, you sitting there, you're producing these impulses right now. So the challenge to working with EEG headsets is developing these algorithms to pinpoint the origination of the neural pattern. So there's a really strong movement to develop applications for these headsets, but we need to understand that these patterns are the EEG tells us when this activity occurs in the mind, but not where. So our brains are folded and it's all unique. We all have our own folding pattern in our cortex. It's like a fingerprint. So what leaders right now in EEG are trying to do, like Mind Technologies Incorporated, like NeuroSky, like OpenBCI, they are trying to utilize as much brain data as possible through open source technology to pinpoint the originations of these patterns so that applications that are built for them are accurate. That way I can wear the headset and smile and the headset will know, okay, I'm happy or I'm in a docile mood. And then someone like Dean or Fernando or Adrian can wear the headset and they can frown and the EEG will say, oh, you're frowning. It'll know because it'll be leveled against the baseline. So I'm talking a little bit about the algorithms here. This is just the current challenge in developing this technology. So as you can see, the EEG the EEG test is actually quantified in the form of 5 signals. So you have the delta, you have theta, you have alpha, you have beta, and you have gamma. And as you can see, I'm not going to read it all out, but they're all are associated to certain moods and certain activities. And in many cases, this technology is used to look at epilepsy, to look at behavioral patterns in the mind, look at psychological conditions in people, to look at sleep, to see how good your sleep is, to see how much deeper we can understand sleep. So those are just a couple examples. Okay, and then common uses for the EEG technology is to gauge attention, to moderate your mood. So if you're feeling anxious and you want to know why, when you put on this headset, you're able to now test with yourself. You know, maybe you're drawing or you look at a picture and you notice, oh, okay, my mood is now balancing out. You know, you're seeing real-time moderation in your psychological habits. And that's just kind of the power that EEG allows you to have on your own mental well-being. And you're able to examine your mental performance. I had a friend who we were members at Fubar Labs in New Brunswick, New Jersey, and he was a runner. And he used basically a NeuroSky chip to measure his performance when running. And it was a really useful tool to him because we added a Bluetooth dongle, and right on his phone, he was able to basically see how well he was doing and compare that to other running performances. So alternatively to examining mental performance and efficiency, companies in manufacturing are exploring the options of utilizing EEG for machine workers to engage in like product line machines in like a hands-free and dynamic way. It's really cool. You see like a line of machines that have robotic arms, and their goal is to have the workers direct these machines just using their minds. So that way it's a focused and efficient method of production, and it's supposed to drive efficiency. So that's just a commercial example of what big businesses are doing today with the technology. However, I'd like to bring the topic back to when EEG technology is accessible to educators and students, then what happens, right? Because if we see in the slide here, the figure on the right represents research that was done by accredited institutions, published, these are all published statements by organizations, and there is just a lot of money behind all of this research. So, we see a wonderful graph on the right, just looking at a patient with sleep irregularities, and you're looking at basically raw EEG data, and it's set in between a range of values. And just on top of that, you can see how EEG can help to detect traces of epilepsy, ADHD. There's so much involvement and need for this technology to bridge that gap with youth and understanding their minds and the ever-growing and ever-complicating conditions of ADHD and other neurological conditions, because they're not challenges, they're just ways of being. And the goal of EEG is to just understand and move forward. Organizations have recognized EEG as a method to detect psychotic behavioral patterns in patients. There are some published works about this, and it's a really cool read. So open source API code is currently available. So you can get values like this, as you see on the screen, in the comfort of your own home using open source hardware. And when educators and students can do that, think of the impact and the drive and innovation that can happen. So just for an example of an institution that's doing fantastic work, the University of South Florida. I met with Marvin Andujar myself. I went to Tampa, I went to his lab, and I saw this incredible invention myself. And it's brain painting. So it's an immersive brain painting environment, and it allows people to paint in a virtual canvas without requiring physical movement. So you wear the headset, and just like you see here in the figures on the top, this person is just able to control a cursor or control an image with their mind. And it's really bridging what we know about imagery and imagination and focus. So brain painting, I'm just going to talk a little bit about this because I just thought it was such a novel invention. Brain painting is introducing a new mechanism for interactive method of creating art. And it only uses the brain in an environment. So a VR environment or really whatever environment, as long as it's virtual. Brain painting itself has shown to improve the quality of life of patients with ALS. And that's by giving the patients a way of expressing themselves and affecting society through art exhibitions. So you take a community of people who already were struggling being represented in the art community, and now they're driving innovation in that art community. It is initiatives like this that drive inspiration among everybody to just get involved, be a participant, and not be scared to go for it. So let's talk about the hardware. I'm a very big advocate of OpenBCI. I myself have purchased equipment from OpenBCI, and OpenBCI is essentially a marketplace for DIY EEG hardware. Okay, so like all chipsets in their proprietary EEG chipsets to them. They used to have schematics out there, but I don't think they're on there anymore. But no worries, because it's possible to recreate these chips on your own. Gold cup electrodes, wiring schemes. As you can see here in the middle, the DIY neurotechnologist starter kit, that's a 3D printed headset. That's something that if you have a 3D printer, you can go ahead and make that in your home today. And gold cup electrodes, you can go and get that and just wire that up to the proprietary board, right? But this is compared to buying a $10,000 headset or like a $20,000 headset, you're spending less than $1,000 to get a plug and play out of the box situation for your research. And bundles are also available. They have the all-in-one biosensing bundle, and they have a really cool bundle, which I got, which is the electrode cap with sintered electrodes. I'll show you what that looks like in a bit. Okay, so data quantization. This is what the data looks like. When you put the headset on, you see those spikes in, I wanna make sure that keeps playing for everybody. You see how these waves are just spiking occasionally, and sometimes they're going down and they're just becoming a little bit more docile. This is on somebody's actual head. This is somebody's actual brain activity. It indicates the amplitude of those currents, of those 5 brain waves that I showed you earlier. And through this data, you're able to quantify it because it's a serial connection at the end of the day, right? It's like I'm thinking or I'm doing something and I have a current emitting out from my head and into the electrode, which goes to the chip and just sends a value. It says, okay, this is the strength of the actual Hertz value. With that data, what can I do? I can represent it in a graph like this. I can build a graph like this in processing in Java, or I could make an interactive game that I can now use this OpenBCI hardware for. The possibilities really are endless. And this is what I mainly wanted to talk about and show everyone and let people know that this is how easy it is to get hardware and software like this in your home, and imagine how easy it is to get it into classrooms so that kids can see this and be like, wow, I can do this. Yes, you actually can. So the top left is basically the raw EEG data coming from somebody wearing the headset. And then the top right is the collective frequency by those 5 signals. And then the bottom right represents the positions of the electrodes on the head. So as you can tell, like it's an aerial view of someone's like head, and it just shows you the positions of where those electrodes are sitting. And then the data is considered raw EEG data because it's not applied to an application yet, right? It's like this is technically an application of its own. It's a GUI, but all it's showing is values. It's showing data. You're not really interacting with anything. You're not testing your mind as much. So this is like the baseline, and this is the baseline of what you get with open source. So this is a photo of me, of my demonstration of open source EEG technology back in 2018 at the Science and Engineering Convention in Washington, DC. I did this presentation under Flubar Labs because I was a member there, and it was fantastic. And as you can see, the brave young man pictured in here, he was able to demonstrate focus and attention. And he was playing a game using leap motion. And I'm not sure if you're all familiar with leap motion technologies, but it's a technology that lets you interact with inanimate objects. So you have the leap motion device here, and it connects to the computer. And there's like, what you see on the computer is like a game or something, like a ball. And you hover your hand over it, and you can interact with the ball or with the environment. And that's the only function of a leap motion device. And even early on, when Oculus was the first dev kit for Oculus was being developed, people were putting leap motions on the Oculus to interact in a VR space. So just know that this is now, a hybrid between EEG technology and this biosensing leap motion technology. And what this setup allowed the participant to do was it challenged him to exercise control over his mind and body in order to complete all levels of the game, because he finished the game and he was really happy about it. Now, if you look at Dad, he's mind blown in the back because he is looking at the screen, which shows a graph that was coded in processing. And there is a GitHub repository for this, and it is available on my site, neuraloceans.com. And this is basically the power of what you can do and what you can bring to your community and to your society. And if you would like to sponsor or support neuraloceans.com, this is what we're trying to bring to communities in America and beyond America, right? It's like we would ideally like to pioneer it here and include everyone doing open source, because this is the product. You have a kid completely inspired, never seen things like this before, and you have parents that are seeing the capabilities of their kids, and then you're seeing the product in real time, because those are that little boy's brainwaves. And if you notice on his head, what he's wearing is that Jedi trainer headset that I was telling you about, that you get at Toys R Us for like 20 bucks. That's the headset. And you see in the back, there's an Arduino, and you just connect 2 wires to the Arduino, and you launch the GUI, and that serial data, which is just the Hertz signal, is communicating to the Arduino, which communicates to what you see on that screen. And that is a simple way to just demystify the technology, to be honest, to youth and to parents and to enthusiasts who have never seen the technology or have never thought or were intimidated to even approach it. So basically, the colors and the graphing that you see on the screen, they were designed again on processing. They were written in Java, all open source, and just feel free to visit neuraloceans.com to create this exact project in your home or in your school today. The EEG headset, I just wanted to mention that it did have a NeuroSky EEG chip, which is what made it capable of reading EEG signals. So that was like the big discovery here. And I believe on Amazon, they're still being sold.
On that notice, we went a little bit farther than the time we have. Do you have 30 seconds ending for this? Because it was so interesting. I didn't want to interrupt you. It was so interesting. So, but we actually go over maybe 10 minutes. So
no worries.
Do you have a conclusion of 30 seconds that you want to share with us?
Yes, I will conclude with this. I will conclude with how to get involved. So if you are interested in EEG technology, neuroscience, or just bringing open source technology to the world and to our impacted communities in America, please visit neuraloceans.com today and send me an email. Send an email to info@neuraloceans.com and share your projects. You can be featured on our site as an innovator in open source. We have so many people that are willing to be involved, and we also are featuring people in Fab City today. Alchemetricos is actually an open source company that is featured on this site as an innovator. So feel free to look at volunteer opportunities and feature opportunities and help drive change. Okay, your time to shine is right now. And thank you so much. My name is Scarlett Menendez. I represent neuraloceans.com. And thank you so much to everybody for having me. I'll post my developments on my site with my Neuro headset so you can see it.
Congratulations. Is there maybe one question that someone wants to ask to end this session, and then I will have to close the room?
Sure, I'll take one question.
Yeah, this is Dane from Urbana.
Hi, Dane.
How have you done much work with people on the autism spectrum?
So I have not. I know that clinicians are driving this mainly, but I am open to autistic participants coming in and looking at this technology and and really interacting with it. I feel like it would be a lot of fun. For
Yeah,
them.
I have two of my cousins are on the spectrum and in group homes. They're both pretty smart, but you know, they kind of a trouble to communicate, but it's just I see this as a technology that might help them understand a little bit more about themselves. So looking forward to getting involved with your site there. Thank you.
I completely agree. Feel free to send me an email, Dean. I would love to work with you on that.
On that note, thank you everyone for being there. Thank you, Scarlett Menendez, and have a great day and have a great Fab City Fab 16.
Thank you, everybody.